Yeah, I kind of don't know what the point of this video was. It's supposed to be to talk about diversity in coding.
I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
Biggie.
All right, guys, welcome back. So for this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about diversity and computer programming, and just my personal experiences about diversity and computer programming. So I'm going to speak from my African American perspective. So, being an African American male, I can tell you now, out of all of the jobs and positions that I've had, well, on my direct teams that I worked on, I have never worked with another African American male that was on the team that I was on. It just hasn't happened. I have worked in a company that had one other African American male coder in that company, which was the last company I was at before this fully remote gig that I'm at now. But that other coder worked on the back end. He was a Java guy. So we never had any type of interactions or anything like that. So he was writing the API or parts of the API that I was consuming on the front end. I would definitely say, I guess it depends on where you're at. So my last company was in Denver, Colorado. If you look up the makeup of Denver, Colorado, it has I don't know, a moniker about Denver that it is one of the whitest cities in America. That's not me. That's just statistically speaking that it just so happens to be like that. The company I was in had a business to business partnership with a company out of India that did consulting called Servion. So Servion developers would come from India over. They would both work remotely from India, and then some of them would come over and actually work on site in Denver on the product that we were working on, right? So if you remove that contingency of Indian-based developers, I would say, I can only think of one other. I mean, that other black guy was the only other minority coder that I was aware of as far as development side. Again, that's removing the Indian-based developers that it came over specifically to work on this project. Yeah, and everybody else was they were white. I mean, it's Denver. It's kind of what do you expect. There was only one other black guy that I ever saw in the building, and he was like a business analyst or something like that. This was out of about 80 employees, I guess I'd say. So that was that experience. When I worked at the small startup, there was only three of us, and I guess statistically speaking, it was evenly diverse. Uh, One was a white guy, the other was a black guy, and the other was an Asian guy. So it sounds like the start of a bad joke, eh? And we used to always go out to dinner, so it was literally like we used to make the joke ourselves too. We walk into places, it's like, so a white guy, a black guy, and an Asian guy walk into, you know, and it was literally true. But it was cool, man. I really miss working with those other two guys. It was good times doing that. If you listen to my other story, they were the other two developers that looked at each other when I said 70,000. Said what? They were good guys, good people, man. I would work with them both again any day. The company I was at before that it was decently diverse. So my team lead there was a Hispanic male. On the team I was on as well was a Hawaiian guy, and then my boss was actually a Filipino guy. So that was pretty diverse. And then there was two other white guys that were on the team. So that was a pretty diverse team that I was on. Still no other black guys. It's just really rare for me to find other black people that are developers, man. It just doesn't happen. There's a few, even on YouTube, finding black male coders is a rarity even on YouTube for me. You know, I know one Akio Code. I assume he's black. I've never seen a picture of him. He has put a lot of programming videos up where it's him writing code, you know, teaching courses and stuff like that. And from the sound of his voice, he sounds like he is a black guy. But I don't know if that is the case. Accio code, I think, is ACCIO code. Don't quote me on that, but if you just Google Accio code, I'm sure you'll find some of his videos. And then there are some black female coders on YouTube that I found lately. So Roosberry, RUS, and I'll put these links below, so don't worry about trying to write them down. Roosberry is a female coder. I don't know if she's black or not, but she's definitely a minority. You can tell. She's a front end developer. There's another, Kalina. So Kalina Edwards is another one as well. I'll put her link below. She was actually a Treehouse alumni as well, kind of like me. So she has videos about Team Treehouse on her channel that helped her get into front end development as well. Another one is Kristen Leakey. I think her name is Christian Leak. So I'll link her channel below as well. She has some great videos, I believe, on front end development as well. And then kind of last not least is a channel called Not Just Nadia. She is also, I think she's going to school actively, enrolled in computer science. And she has a really good video. She has a video that's actually called Being a Black Girl in Computer Science, the Black Sheep of the Class. I found really interesting because she talks about her experience of being a black female in going to school for computer science, and how when she walks in the classroom, all the heads turn and look at her like she doesn't belong in this class. Like, does she know what this class is about? And she said even the instructors would walk in and, kind of be taken aback that she's in the class. And it turns out that she's actually like one of the smartest ones in the class and answering the questions for the class and stuff like that. But it's a really interesting perspective to be in a field where there's just not a lot of people that look like you. That's kind of always been a case for me, though. It doesn't make me uncomfortable, I'll say that, to be not surrounded by other black people. When I was in high school, I took AP classes, and I would always be the only black person in there. I guess I used to always think, well, if there's ever been a token black guy, I'm a token black guy, because I'm usually the only black guy in the crowd of people that, in the technology world or anything like that. So it doesn't necessarily make me uncomfortable, but it's definitely something I notice, and I feel that, I wish there were more people, more minorities in the field, that it was more diverse, because you have to think about, we're writing code, we're building software for people to use in all types of spectrums. So if the shape and the guidance of a product is presented and it doesn't have input from a vast, diverse background of people, then that product may not fully represent everyone whose hands that it will ultimately land in, and it may not take all considerations into effect. But at the end of the day, I write code, and I would love for you to write code with me. So yeah, I think that'll do it for now. So what are your experiences? What are your experiences with diversity in the workplace? If you're in IT or the technology field or programming or whatever it may be. Those are my experiences. The company that I'm at now is probably the most diverse, but we're all remote, so I don't really get to see those people. But from the names, I can tell, there's names like Biju, and you could tell it's probably an Indian name, and from the voices on the calls and stuff. But I've never met any of them face to face. Aslam is from Istanbul, and this is definitely the most diverse group that I've worked with. The sad part is that that we're spread all over the U.S., so we don't get to work together in that type of capacity. But I definitely dig it. So talk to me. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.